So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Amy Calhoun and Amanda Falk, and they'll come up here and they're going to go through some of the offerings that the Sacramento Library has. And I know this is a topic that comes up a lot with us, and I think it's very, very pertinent. Somebody said it was National Book Month or something like that. This is Amy and Amanda. Go ahead and plug it in. And then you can use the microphone there. And get on AirPlay. Do you want to do the
slides?
Okay, so that's fine. This is set. So what we'll do, and then there's, if you can either press that to advance it, or you can hit the right arrow here.
Great.
And then here's the microphone. We can put that down a little bit. So, thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be right here.
Thank you. As Ken said, I'm Amy Calhoun from the Sacramento Public Library. I'm in the virtual branch, and as you may know, Sacramento Public Library has 28 physical locations, and our virtual branch is our effort to make all of those great services, books, magazines, help from a librarian that you can find in the physical location available on the virtual branch, so just as easy online from our website. I'm here to talk about services that we have for iPads and iOS, and one of the ones that we're most proud of is our Hearing eBooks program. And Hearing eBooks is for those users and patrons who may have any type of vision impairment problem. So they can completely interact with the device and the eBooks without sight and just by touch and sound. And you might ask, well, why did we do Hearing eBooks when there's already audiobooks? And the reason is we wanted to make things fully as equal and accessible as possible. Not everything that is an audiobook, not everything that's available as an ebook has been recorded as an audiobook. So it does limit your selection if you can only listen to pre-recorded narrated audiobooks. So we were already lending e-readers, the Nook, but we became aware that this did not allow people with vision impairments to use the device and take advantage of the ebooks we were offering. So we did some research and found that Apple iOS devices were really on the forefront of accessibility. They came with VoiceOver and the accessibility settings already installed on the device. They just had to be activated. And unlike the other e-readers that have text-to-speech right now, not only can you have the book read to you, you can navigate the device entirely by sound, and all the menus and cues on the device will also be read. So we right now are lending 18 devices. They have VoiceOver on them. They also have the ebooks already loaded on there, and to make it easier to find a book you're interested in, they're organized by genre. So we have mysteries, romance, bestsellers, kids, even Spanish language. And we just circulate them in a portable carrying case, and we chose the iPod Touch because it is so portable, so if somebody wants to take it with them somewhere to listen, they can do that. And then also because you are using gestures, 2 fingers swipe down will start it reading, and it'll just continue reading. 3 fingers to left or right will let you flip through pages. We thought it would be easier for some people who might also have some mobility issues if they had a smaller screen rather than the full iPad to have to move across. And I can should be able to show you a brief demo here.
You want it on the screen?
Yes, do I swap displays?
I'm sorry?
Swap displays? Just switch over?
Just actually do this. Should do it. There you go.
So I have it VoiceOver can be turned on just by pushing the home button 3 times, but you can also find this under General and Accessibility. Oh, the sound didn't come through.
Is it working or not?
The sound isn't coming through.
Let's see real quick here.
Yeah, because I can tell it's.
Oh, it wasn't in all the way. Let's do it the other way. We're going to change. Go ahead and plug it back in there.
Oh.
And then we'll have to redo your screen. Oh, you probably have it.
Oh, let me turn it off.
Oh,
I don't think it turned off.
oh it's.
There we go.
Somebody needs to play the theme song from Jeopardy so that dun, 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 dun. Okay, let me make sure this is on. Yes, it flashed. Should be good now.
VoiceOver on.
Okay, I think everybody heard that. Thank you for your patience. So if I move my finger across the screen, it gives me some feedback when I'm not touching anything. Let's see.
Hands MVP. 5. Button.
The tray's up. There you go.
Here we go.
iBooks. Double tap to open.
We are using iBooks itself because we found that VoiceOver works the best with iBooks, and that's where we purchase the content that our patrons can use. You can double tap anywhere on the screen once you've selected the app or book you're looking for.
iBooks. Double tap. A Scandal in Bohemia. How often? Well, some hundreds of times. Then how many are there? How many?
So you can see that it already started reading. I could also navigate one word at a time.
Page 13 of 305. How many? I don't know. Quite true that I had a country walk on Thursday and came home in a...
And as you might know, some people who have been accustomed to this technology like to listen to the voice really fast because to them it's too slow if it's going at a normal speed. So this is another one of the advantages of having VoiceOver as the reader as opposed to a narrated audiobook. Because if a lot of you probably read faster than you can listen, so they have the same experience. Of course, we did hear back from some people who didn't like the automated voice as much, but it does give us a much bigger selection of books.
VoiceOver off.
So I'll go ahead and switch out of VoiceOver and show you some of the other services that we have for iOS users. And you'll see that I have a couple of apps on the third row for ebooks. One being Overdrive and one being 3M Cloud Library. The reason we have two platforms is they offer some slightly different features. Overdrive is our biggest collection because we've had it the longest. It is a collection of about 36,000 copies of ebooks and audiobooks right now. And you can check out 10 at a time. And it has support for working in the free Overdrive app, which you can just download directly from the App Store. Or you can actually use it with a Kindle app if you have an account and have that app installed on your iOS device as well. So right now what we're looking at is all titles, so you can see what I have checked out right now. Some of them have a little yellow tab that shows that they're new, and it's hard to see from the small print, but you can see underneath the titles whether the book already is expired and has returned, or if I have 21 days left or 16 days left, or how much I have in my 3-week checkout. There's a menu on the left side. And here is where I can add my library. So I have Sacramento Public Library already added. So you do need a library card to borrow the ebooks. You can also add a library for Folsom Public Library or any of the other local libraries that you might visit. So you could have more than one in there to borrow from. But of the local area, our collection is the largest. You'll also see I have a setting called Overdrive 1. I can set up to be able to sync across devices, so it remembers exactly where I am, if I made any bookmarks or notes. The files here shows that all my books have downloaded, and if I have an audiobook, it might have multiple parts that I need to download. So you do need to be online to check out books and to download them, but once they're on there, you don't have to be connected to the internet. Once you're in a book, you have a menu on the right side. So this will be your bookmarks, and you'll also be able to navigate the table of contents. Okay. 3M Cloud Library is the other ebook app we have available. It doesn't have any audiobooks and it doesn't have Kindle support, but it will let you borrow books just from the Sacramento Public Library within this app, and it's an additional 10 checkouts that you can borrow. Okay. So I'll switch back really quickly to the presentation. Is it Command tab?
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, it's
Yep.
Microsoft PowerPoint.
There it is.
Okay. So the one thing to keep in mind about the Overdrive is if you already installed an older version of the app, it'll work fine. But right now, the current version of the Overdrive app does need iOS 6 or newer. So if you didn't have iOS 6, the option is there to use the 3M Cloud Library app, which is a smaller collection. We've only had it 1 year, so we're still building that collection, but it's also about 7,000 titles so far. And that is supported by iOS 5.1 and newer. Oh, and I also forgot to mention no late fees. So they turn themselves back in automatically, so you don't have to worry about getting hit with those late fees. And if you hit your 10 checkout limit, you can also turn things in early. That is very squeaky. Okay, so and here is just to show that once you navigate on one device, if you also had an iPhone, it would look the same as what you're navigating on the iPad, as well as holding your bookmarks and notes. And also, if you return a book and then check it out again later, it'll still have your bookmarks as well.
The sensor for that is right in front, so you have to back your hand up a little. It's on the right-hand side there, if you're going to use the remote.
Oh, okay.
It's actually right here.
Gotcha. Okay. You saw the layout of what it looks like, and you can also see there's a blank spot where you can add a book once you've set up and added your libraries. The table of contents pages and where you can get to your bookmarks once you're in a book. And I want to also mention that with both of these, if you are in the catalog and don't see the title you're looking for, it may be because the publisher hasn't made that ebook available to libraries, or it could be we just haven't bought it yet. So we do check patron requests every other week, and built right into there, when you do a search, you'll see at the bottom of the Overdrive page the option to didn't find the titles you were looking for, and then you can see titles that aren't in the collection but are available from Overdrive, and they'll go directly to our librarian, and it'll also automatically put you on the hold list for checkout when it becomes available. And we purchase the wish list requests about every other week, and 3M also has this feature. So that's just a screenshot of it on a phone as opposed to an iPad.
And it syncs between the iPhones and the iPads on both of those programs?
That's right, and actually it's really nice in 3M Cloud Library. It's already, you log in once with your library card number. You don't have to set up an extra account like with Overdrive, and it syncs. That's why they are in part are calling it the Cloud Library, is that the syncing there is automatic as well. And it also has notes, and their notes, of course, look like the 3M Post-it note. So Zenio is a relatively new service we have. We have about 60 or 70 magazines. You can get to this page at saclibrary.org/research under our magazines category. Some of you may have heard of Zenio because it's a consumer application and you can buy magazines from them, but we have a program called Zenio for Libraries where we pay for the subscriptions, and then if you log in with your library card, you can download free copies. The really neat thing about this, even better than the ebooks, is not only are they free, you get to keep them. They don't expire. There's no 3-week lending period. They're yours to keep, and there's no waiting list. They're always available. So there's unlimited copies for people to download. So the newest issue will automatically appear each month. You do have to come back to the library's collection of Zenio magazines to borrow it, but it's there, and the back issues are always there. And it'll work in a browser, on a Mac, or in the mobile app, which is free. So it will ask you to set up a Zenio account, but you'll never have to purchase anything if you don't choose to. You can use all of the library magazines if you choose. And you can see the selection of titles are fairly popular, well-known titles, ESPN, Elle, and of course Macworld. And this is one of our most popular titles in the Zenio collection. So, all right, well, and I'll be able to do some questions at the end, but I want to let Amanda have a chance here to talk.
I do want to add just a little bit to Amy's presentation and say that I do have both of those apps on my iPhone, and I have found I would highly recommend installing those apps and putting your library card number somewhere on your device saved so you don't have to have the card with you. I downloaded a book while I was waiting for someone at the airport, and I had forgotten to bring one of the many, many books that I have piled on my bedside table, and I had one there and I was reading it when she got off the plane. So it's a really, really wonderful service. The magazines are the same way. When you find yourself waiting in an unexpected line you weren't prepared for, just download a book. But I am not here to talk about those boring adult things. I am here to talk about iPads for early literacy. Just a little over a year ago, in October of 2012, Sacramento Public Library installed its first early literacy iPads as part of a Make a Difference Day remodel of the South Natomas Library Kids Space. Initially, they put in 3 iPads. They're now up to 4 in that space. And for 6 months, we ran a pilot to see how they would be received, what the impact would be on our community. And they were amazing. I am so proud of the effect that they had on the kids. That pilot has now been expanded, and we have iPads available at 4 of our locations. They are mounted in the early literacy spaces, just like you see there in the pictures. And you can see from the picture that they're encouraging children to come into the library spaces. They're a draw. They're getting the kids into these spaces that we have worked so hard to make good early literacy environments. You know, we really work to make them inviting, welcoming, appropriate for our families, engaging for our families, and kids hit the door and run to the iPads. So it's another thing that draws them in and gets them into a space where they are surrounded by good resources. we really like that they encourage parent engagement. They encourage the kids to engage with each other, as you can see in the picture. Parents will also sit down with a child on their lap, and they will engage with the app of the day together, which is amazing to see. I'm going to let you in on a little library secret. Sometimes parents bring their children in and they go sit on the computer and they send their child on their own to the kids' space. What we've seen the impact of the early literacy iPads be is that parents actually go with their child. They're sitting down, they're engaging with the child, which is exactly what we want to see. We want to see not just the children in this space, but the parents and children working together, playing together, learning together, and spending more time with books. So parents really learn good ways of interacting with their children around technology. We've all seen, I assume, the parent who's handed their iPhone or their tablet to their child at the grocery store or the restaurant, and the child sitting there playing Angry Birds. This is giving them a better example, a better way, some ideas of apps that are really going to educate their children, that are age appropriate. I really work hard to pick apps that are free of advertisement for these kids and that are intuitive. Touchscreen technology makes sense to kids. They touch a thing and something happens. It's computers with a mouse and a keyboard. They don't, what do you mean I move this thing over here and that thing does something up there? That doesn't make sense. But our earliest learners can figure out that if they touch a thing and something happens, that connection's made for them. It's absolutely intuitive for them. Sometimes we have little pop-up windows, things that get in their way. So I look for apps that are designed with none of that. I look for them to be intuitive. A parent and a child can sit right down, no tutorial, no written instructions. They touch a thing and something happens. It's just intuitive. They can jump in with both feet and get started. So I'm really proud of the selection of apps that we have picked to prepare our kids for reading. I have some of my favorite board books are actually available in app form. And let's see if I can show some of those off for you today.
You want them on the screen?
Yeah, I did it.
Perfect.
All right. I'm practicing. I'm actually going to start, and this is a future slide, I'm going to start my very first iPad story time on Saturday, February 1st. It's just another way of modeling for parents the best ways to engage with their children around technology. Parents are looking for guidance in that area. We've found as soon as we put those tablets into the kids' spaces, parents were coming up going, what's that app? What apps are good for our kids? Aren't kids not supposed to have screen time? Tell us what to do. So this is giving us an opportunity to have that conversation. You know, we've studied early literacy. We know what we're talking about. And this is giving us an opportunity to engage with parents, to reassure them that they're doing the right things or guide them in ways that they could be engaging with their child. It's okay to curl up with an iPad at bedtime. You can get out your Sandra Boynton going to bed book at bedtime and have a different experience than you will with the physical book. One of the reasons these are my favorite apps, and they model what I tend to look for in any app that I'm going to put in our library environment. They have a really high level of engagement. I didn't treat you to the sound, but it does make little different sounds for each of these animals. And I like that it keeps the physicality of the book. I can see the pages turn here. A lot of book app adaptations don't maintain that book feel. You know, you're sliding across the screen or it's playing like it's a movie. This I really like that I can actually see that page turn go on. I have to show you guys my absolutely favorite page. And these they have really whimsical, delightful little animations. But my absolutely favorite thing is if I turn on the hot water in this scene, it actually will fog up my screen. And I don't know if that's, oh yes it is, perfect. So you can see that the screen is fogged and we have to wipe it off to keep going. So this is, Sandra Boynton writes wonderful books, and they're board books that I recommend to parents who bring their young children to my baby story times and my toddler story times. Now I can recommend these adaptations of her board books to parents who come to my iPad story time. So I'm really looking forward to that. The early literacy behaviors that we look for in children who are coming to the library, we look for the things that are going to get them ready to read. So we look for them to be talking, singing, reading, writing, and playing. And they can do all of that with the apps that we have loaded on here. Now, they can do all of that with the books we have on our shelves. They can do all of that with the toys that we've put out, the other interactive elements. But this really adds to our repertoire of ways that we're encouraging families to engage in those behaviors, to be playful, to read, to talk back. One of the apps I have on here is a Mo Willems. It's another book-inspired app, and it has sort of a Mad Libs make-your-own-story version. So that's encouraging the children to make something up, to talk, to use their vocabulary. This is one that I like for our earliest learners. It's just that simple. There's no swipe, there's no drag, there's no advanced fine motor skills required, which is one of the things I like about the touchscreen technology. It's encouraging children to master those fine motor skills that they're going to need to someday grasp a pen and write their name. But this one is great for our earliest learners because they touch a thing and something happens. They can just make it pop. It is impossible in this app for me to touch anything and get stuck and get lost and get to boring parent gobbledygook that I don't want to see if I am only 3. Instead, I touch a thing and something happens. I can make it pop. So this is my favorite, actually, example of an intuitive menu. A parent sits down, a child sits down alone, they're going to know what to do. They poke it, and something happens. So I think that's a really wonderful app that we have on offer. Letter School is a more traditional approach to writing for maybe our preschool age kids. But again, fairly intuitive. If I'm a parent sitting down and I don't have a device at home, this is the first exposure my children are having to a tablet, this is pretty straightforward. I think almost any parent that walks into my library could figure out how to set it to capital letters, numbers, or lowercase letters. This one is pretty delightful. It's the letter tracing app I've been waiting for. It's fairly recent. When we first put those iPads into South Natomas in October 2012, this app was not available, and I wanted it to be. So it has come out since then, and I'm so happy to have it. It has 3 different stages of writing the letter for the kids. In one, they just touch it, and a little animation will show them how the letter is built. Whoops, I did the wrong one. I don't know how to draw my B's. On the second one, they actually have to drag it. And on the third one, they're actually going to have to draw it without any guidelines. And then once they do that, there's a big explosion. I love that there's immediate feedback. You did a good thing. Yay! You're learning to trace your letters. So much more fun, I think, than the other letter tracing apps that I had encountered previously. So this one's going to show me that's a B, but as soon as I start to trace it, it's going to disappear. And I'm going to have to remember how to write a B. And at my age, I ought to know. Nope, I have it wrong. Okay, so I got it wrong so badly that now it's guiding me. Ta-da! So I have 3 little stars, and it's going to hold a little celebration because I can draw a lowercase b. So I think that's wonderful. And again, a child can just sit down and dive right into that. There's no written explanation needed, no tutorial. I don't have to come over and teach them how to use it, which differs from, say, the kids' internet access computers. If a child and a parent come, they're going to say, where's the games? Well, they're on the internet. Let me show you how to log on. Let me show you how to access a website that might be appropriate for your child, like pbskids.org, which I'm happy to do. But these are just ready to go. Right when they sit down, they can jump on in and engage with these. This is one that I'm looking forward to using in story time. It does head and shoulders, knees and toes, and that's all. Illustrated by Rosemary Wells, who's a fabulous children's book illustrator. And if they enjoy doing this with me in story time, I can direct them to all the Rosemary Wells picture books at the end of story time. So there's that connection back to the other services that we provide at the library. It has been found in some of the libraries that are doing that are doing this. How do I get back to the presentation? I was doing so good.
Oh, you're
It has
doing
been
great.
found in some of the are doing the iPad story times that it really does bring kids back to the books that they've enjoyed. It does bring kids back to that physical, tactile book. Older kids will see that Sandra Boynton board book app, and they'll go back and reread, they'll dig the board book out of the back of their closet and reread it, even when they're maybe a little advanced for board books. It really does foster that love, that enthusiasm. It makes these books come alive for this generation in a new way. So I think that's very exciting. And I'm really excited to model that interaction for parents at the story time. Talk about why I picked the apps I pick, why you might choose to pick those apps, what apps maybe are good. I haven't chosen to use them in the library because they require more parent interaction with the child to explain how to use the app, but it's still a really great app. It's really going to encourage them. We do have children's books available for checkout on 3M and Overdrive as well, which is going to be more of a parent reading a book experience than these sort of animated app adaptations, but it's another way that they might choose to sit down at bedtime. One of the greatest things I think I can tell the parents is that they can turn off the voice on these apps. You don't have to let the app read to your kid. You can turn off the voice and you can read to them from your app, from your ebook, from your iPad. So I think that's pretty exciting.
It says read along with Ed. Is that an interactive book then?
Yes, Go Away Big Green Monster is another one that I am planning to use for story time. Where are you, Big Monster? There he is. Let me go
Do you
back
need
to
your
my
sound for that?
mirroring. Do you guys want to hear Ed read Big Green Monster a little bit? All right, let's look it
Just
up.
take 1 second. I think that's great.
Oh, and how do I mirror it back up?
Now just there's your headphone jack. Is it under this? Is your headphone jack under there?
That's a great question.
I think it's, yeah, it's up here.
Is it?
She's got the kid-proof case on this
I
thing,
do.
so it makes it a little tough to get to the headphone jack.
So the mounts that we use at most of the libraries where we've installed them are a MacLock style mount. It does lock the app onto one app of the day. It's really either all or nothing. You know, we have to set it up as guided access and lock it onto just one app, or let them have
Do we have a
access
6-year-old
to
that can
everything.
get this out for me? I can't do it.
You might have to come see me afterward to hear Big Green Monster. But the MacLabs have been really great because being able to lock it onto guided access preserves the iPads for the intended audience. It really keeps it, by locking it onto Go Away Big Green, it onto, there's another monster at the end of this book starring Grover and Elmo. By locking it onto those apps, I'm really preserving the technology for the toddlers and preschoolers. Right when we very first stuck them in and we were just learning, we did not have guided access, and I wandered into the kids area. We thought we had the locks that covered the home button and that was going to be good enough. That was not good enough. So I wandered into the kids' space and there sits a teenager crouched down on my little toddler height iPad, and they're on Facebook, and I go, oh, well, that's interesting. How did you get there? And they told me. They told me that if you pressed hard enough on the case, that it would hit the home button and they could get, and I'm like, oh, that's very interesting. Thank you for telling me. And then we fixed it. So that has not happened since. We have a branch in the system. The iPads are now at 4 branches. They're at South Natomas, Elk Grove, Rio Linda, and Fair Oaks Library. And Fair Oaks Library has both early literacy iPads in their newly remodeled kids area, and they've introduced, sorry, I'm waving that all around, it's probably very distracting. And they've introduced a school-age iPad, and they're downloading some of the best educational apps, which is a really great thing, A, because school-age kids will come and interact with it, but it's also something we can take when we do our outreach to schools, when we do our outreach to teachers. A lot of schools are introducing iPads into their classroom. I know there's a school in my area that just got an iPad cart for their kids. But the teachers don't necessarily have the time to go out and research the best apps for use in their classroom. So if we have looked at these apps, if we've engaged with them, if we've seen how they work with kids in our library spaces, that puts us in the position of being able to make those recommendations of apps to teachers, to parents. You know, we're in the business of recommending books. We're in the business of recommending good quality content for kids. And now we can take those skills that we've used to say, hey, I think you might really like this truck picture book. Or, hey, I have the best chapter book for your reluctant reader 5th grader. We can take those skills now and say, hey, you need to practice your letter drawing? I have an app for that. So it's pretty cool to be able to recommend that. And installing these iPads in the branches is giving us sort of the cred to be able to engage in those conversations and make those recommendations. So this is Go Away, Big Green Monster. You may be familiar with the book. So you could read along with Ed. You could read along with a friend. You can sing along. And what I think I'm going to do for story time is read myself. And that fits more my story time style. I want to be engaged with the kids during story time. So I'll read, Big Green Monster has 2 big yellow eyes, a long bluish greenish nose, a big red mouth, 2 little squiggly ears, scraggly purple hair, and a big scary green face. But you don't scare me. So go away, scraggly purple hair. And then all the kids will say, go away. Oh, please. And then all the kids will say, go away, scraggly purple hair. And away it will go. And so on and so forth. I won't make you do it again. And so that's how we'll engage. And so I'm having a great time with the kids. And at the end, they'll be able to come up and poke it and play with it. Or, because I'm going to be using my Apple TV, I'll walk around and let a different kid hit the little arrow every time we say go away, and everyone else can watch it on the screen, but that kid will have the experience of actually making it go away. And I'm modeling for parents how they could sit down with their kid and have a lot of fun. They don't have to just set it on play and let Ed and Emberly go. They can sit down with their kid and yell together. So that's what I really hope to encourage, as well as say, hey, this might be a great choice for your preschool or your toddler. Maybe a better choice than just Angry Birds, which I love, but I use that as my example a lot. So those are the early literacy iPads at the Sacramento Public Library, and so I think I'll ask Amy up and we will take questions. Now that you're all dying to go see my early literacy iPads in our different
We can
branches.
get both of the iPads up if you'd like. That'll
Okay.
help. Do you need sound? Not you, because we can't get that
Nope,
undone.
I'm fine. Yeah, I'll take it out. My bulletproof case here.
Yeah. Perfect.
And I hope that the ebooks are almost as intuitive as the apps for the early readers. But if you do get stuck, most of our locations now have one-on-one help for ebooks and devices. So if you need help getting started with Overdrive or 3M or have gotten stuck in some part of the process, you can come in and get face-to-face help. Or you can call us on the phone or email. So whatever's easiest for you.
I have a question regarding checking out books. It's just like the regular library where if it's checked out, I have to wait for it to come back on most of these, correct? Except for Zinio.
Yes, yeah. For ebooks, the way the publishers are licensing the books to us is similar to the physical world where, we will have multiple copies. So we might have 50 ebook copies of Gone Girl, but if 50 people have checked it out, you'll go on the wait list and you'll get an email when it's available. Yes?
Hi, I saw in the notification about the class you were also going to talk about apps for language courses you could take. Is that still on?
Repeat the question, please.
Oh, yes. So the question on this one was apps for learning languages. And I do have that loaded on here. It's called Mango Languages, and it's something you can also find on that same saclibrary.org research page. You will need to set up an account with Mango through our website. Once you've done that, though, you will be able to log into Mango. and you'll have a series of courses on many different languages. Well, it's not mirroring.
Are we?
I think it's caught up now. It was just a little.
We get here. Oh, that's you. Okay.
Yeah, it's just. a
Oh,
little
it's
delayed.
yours is okay. So I can. Yeah, it's slightly delayed through the Wi-Fi. So
I'm asking it to look at both.
let's see if we can get you. Oh, yours isn't up right now.
So you'll see
Oh,
that
okay.
there are over 60 languages, including English as a second language. I have Spanish downloaded on here. You'll see it gives you goals. It's very oriented towards beginner and intermediate, especially if you're going to do any traveling or basic conversation. So
Check out the following conversation. By the end of this chapter, you're going to sound smarter than ever.
Disculpe,
Just give us a
estoy
sec there
perdido.
so we can get the speaker on because it's
¿Dónde
talking
está
to
el
it.
baño?
El baño está...
there you go.
Actually, a little more.
You can just.
I actually think that Mango is more fun to do with a device because you're likely to have that microphone, depending on your device, and it'll give you real-time feedback on your pronunciation, which is a very nice feature.
Disculpe, estoy perdido.
So let me make it a little louder. But basically, you can go through the.
Disculpe, estoy perdido.
There we go.
Oh, it's coming through there again.
I can hold it near the mic.
¿Dónde está el baño?
Okay, but let's do this. Let's try this. Sorry, guys. Try it now.
¿Dónde está el baño?
You gotta
So-
realize we're putting two iPads through the MacBook Pro up to the projector, all wireless.
And it's handling it pretty well.
And if you do a long press, you can see that it gives you the translation. You can hear
Vaya
everything,
derecho y luego a la izquierda.
each part of
Here's how you
the.
would say, I'm lost.
Estoy perdido.
Let's hear you say, to be.
So it gives you a chance to be both interactive as well as have the visual as well as the audio
Estar.
elements. So if you didn't get to be, then you have a chance to hear it.
Estar. Let's see if you can say, I am. Let's learn how to say, lost. Perdido.
So you can have everything repeated again,
Let's
and
see if you can.
it'll build around
Check
these
out the following
conversations.
conversation. By the end of this chapter, you're going to sound smarter than ever.
Really
Disculpe,
loud.
estoy perdido. ¿Dónde está el baño?
El baño
Where's the
está un
man?
poco lejos. Vaya derecho y luego a la izquierda.
Muchas gracias.
De nada.
So you'll see that this is lesson 14, so that's pretty basic. There's 57 slides in this lesson, so it's going to introduce a lot of vocabulary words. It starts out pretty basic, but asking for the bathroom could be pretty important on your trip. And it'll have also, as you go, grammar notes and cultural notes for each of the languages. And you can do it offline. As you can see, I've already downloaded lessons 14 and 15 for this particular Spanish unit, but I would need to be connected to download more. So it's not a very big app install when you first get it. It'll depend on which courses you choose to work on.
Is it iPad only or can it be on the iPhone too?
It's actually, you might be able to tell from the picture here, it's actually a little more optimized for the iPhone. So it can
Okay.
definitely be on the iPhone. It'll just blow up to a little bigger if it's on the iPad. So it'll work on either device. So how many of you have a library card? All right, that's great.
Yay.
So the apps are free to get. The card is free to get if you don't already have one. But for most of these apps, you will have to log in at the beginning. Yes.
Be a resident of Sacramento?
Do you have to be a resident of Sacramento? That's a good question. No, just a resident of California. Oh, so how to get this particular app? So I'll go to our website, And our website is www.saclibrary.org. And you can see we have a tab at the top called Research. So here you can find the Zinio service under the newspapers and magazines category. You'll see we have the language learning category, and from here you can log into Mango Languages. You'll create a Mango account, and then if you download the free app from the store, you would be able to use it for free, and it will only ask you to log in the one time. If I was inside the library, it wouldn't prompt me.
Oh, so inside you don't need to log in.
Yeah, it would recognize I'm on the network, so you could come get set up that way. So here's the full-fledged web version of Mango, which you could use on your Mac at home if you wanted to. So it does have some additional features that are pretty neat. But here you can see the registering. It walks you through that, downloading the app, and starting learning. So if you were on a computer, it actually has a new film feature where you can watch movies in a foreign language and they're completely subtitled, and you can click on each word in the subtitles to slow it down, hear it again. It also has cultural notes. So it's a more engaging way to learn. Oh, I think there was somebody in the back.
So I have a library card from Yellow County. So is it treated like an interlibrary loan, or do I just register directly with the museum?
You would register. The question is, if you already have a Yolo County card, can you get a Sacramento Public Library card? That's what you would need to do. You couldn't use your Yolo card to get to the Sacramento library ebooks. You could. Yolo does have their own Overdrive account, but there was no exchange there. You would have to come in and get a card. Yes.
Do you have to get a library card online, or you have to physically to the library?
That's a good question. To get a full library card, you do need to go to the physical location, but if you're only interested in e-materials, I'll go back to the home page of Sacramento Public Library. And on the home page, you'll see there's a place, an FAQ section. How do I get a library card? When you go to apply, you'll see there's a virtual library e-card. This we will mail to you if you live within the Sacramento County. If you are in Yolo, for instance, you would have to come in physically. So we're only able to mail the virtual card, which only lets you get ebooks and use our online services if you're in Sacramento, but it would save you a trip if you are. Yes? Then you could just continue to use that card. It'll still be good. Every 3 years, we check to make sure you're at the same address, but you could still renew it and continue to use that same account. Yes?
Yeah. The books that are on loan are automatically returned. Can you return them early?
Can you return the ebooks early? And yes, you can return them early if you choose, because there is a 10 checkout limit at a time, so you may want to do that.
No.
For the most part, the question is, can I get a card at another library system in California, like Santa Clara County? It depends on the library system. I think Santa Clara County may charge a fee to do that, but Yolo, San Francisco, a lot of others don't. So I've had patrons come through on library field trips where they're visiting Sacramento, San Francisco to get cards. I would check their website. This is just based on my own memory, but my understanding is Santa Clara County is one of the few that charges. Yes.
I also download audiobooks from the website in the library that previously on a Mac it wouldn't be conservative. Does that change now?
Audiobooks are a little different from the ebooks. So there's two file formats that we offer. If you're on the app, it will only offer you MP3 audiobooks, and all of those can be returned early. WMA, it may not surprise you, is a little more difficult, doesn't play as nice, so those can't be returned early. You have to wait the whole 3 weeks. However, if you go to the Overdrive website and the app, there's a settings section where you can, before you check it out, if you know you're going to listen to it quickly, change it to 7 days, but that's the best we can do with WMA at this point. Yes?
I wanted to ask Amanda, I really liked the apps you were showing us, and as a grandparent, my grandchildren live in another state, do you have a list available of the apps that maybe we could purchase for the children?
Yeah, I do personally have a list. I don't believe it's up on our website, but that's in the works, unless I'm wrong. Okay, no, I'm not wrong. It's not up on the website yet, but that's something that we're working on. We have our Great Books for Kids bookmarks. We're going to come out with our Great Apps for Kids recommendations. If you're looking for great recommendations for librarian curated apps, I have a few suggestions. There's a new Common Sense Media website called Graphite that reviews apps, websites, and something else digital. But that's a good source. If you're used to using Common Sense Media for books and movies, it's the same company. School Library Journal, Kirkus, Hornbook, which are review sources that I use as a librarian, all have app reviews that they're coming out with now. If you Googled, it's called the Touch and Go column for School Library Journal, and they have app reviews available. There's a website called Digital Storytime. It's digital-storytime.com, and that has a whole backlog of app reviews available.
If you could email the list, you have mine, and then what I'll do is I'll give it to our people, and we can post the list on our website so they can just click on it if that's okay with you guys.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'd be happy to send you. I have my list, my short list of my absolute favorites.
It won't be pretty, but it'll have all the information.
And then those review sources. So I'd be happy to share all of that with you.
We have time, so go ahead and finish up the list. Yeah, and you can only use the WMV files. WMA.
There's an Android version of all of the apps. I talked about Zenio, 3M, Overdrive. The only exception is Mango Languages. Oh, yeah.
Some of my little neighbor friends like, there's a fairy and a mouse where you can say something and then or they say something and then it repeats back. Do you like those? Do you use those?
So there's a couple different ways they do that. The augmented reality apps are the ones where they can sort of run around and it'll input the world of the book on top of what they're looking at with the camera. We do have one app, the Pigeon, where they talk to it and the pigeon will talk back to them. It's not a very sophisticated AI, more like a Mad Libs style input. I haven't encountered any that are sort of Furby style where they'll talk back to the kids or learn from them, mostly because that wouldn't work for me in the library environment, because I have certain needs that as a parent or a grandparent user you wouldn't have. Because I need parents to be able to sit down, because I can't really create an individual account for my one user, because my iPad is going to see 30 different users today. So that particular style of app may be out there. I'm not super familiar with it because it wouldn't necessarily work in the library setting. But this is the Mo Willems Pigeon app, and if they go to create their own story, the bus driver, who the kids will recognize from the famous Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus, will come and ask them a few questions. And as they tell it their answers, as they name a favorite person and a food that would be weird to eat, it will then tell them back the story with those included. So I include that to encourage that talking, encourage them to make up their own stories.
And are those normal apps that are in the App Store too?
What's that?
that's apps that they, as a grandparent, could buy for the kid in the App Store.
Oh, absolutely. The question was, are these apps that I'm showing you super secret library apps or apps that you could buy from the App Store? And these are all, I just went to iTunes App Store and downloaded them with a gift card, in fact. So absolutely something that you could go and download on your own device for interaction with your children or grandchildren.
You got it. Any more questions? Because this, I mean, I think everybody's pretty enthralled with this. So go ahead. Got a couple more.
The question is, the library lends DVDs, so are there going to be any online version of videos? And we actually are investigating streaming video platforms right now. There's one called Hoopla, which Seattle Public Library has launched. It's a lot like Netflix and has a collection maybe of not the newest movies, but a big variety of TV shows and movies. And it would also have audiobooks in it. So we're looking at that. And then Overdrive, which we're already using, is launching streaming later this year. So we're looking to see what they're going to have. So I think, in maybe late in 2014, you may see something like that.
So the one-on-one help, can you just walk into the library on a drop-in basis and somebody will be there to help you the same way as a reference librarian?
Oh yes, especially if it's a basic question, you don't have to make an appointment. You can just drop in and ask. If it does turn out to be something really complicated, that's where they might set up a follow-up time. But you can also check on our homepage. We have an events calendar. So if I go to events, I can search by technology events. And you'll see that some of the 1-hour sessions let you make an appointment, and some are just first come, first serve. So that's an option too.
Okay, one last question. Was there? Great.
Well, thank you very much for having us.
I'd like to mention that they brought some brochures with them, and they're on the back table. And are you guys going to be around for a few minutes if people have questions on the side or something? So maybe we could, probably a little easier to set up over here because there's going to be a big line for more tickets for the iPad Mini. So that person that has an Android may have to get an iOS device by buying some tickets. I want to thank Amy and Amanda. The iPad's 4 years old right now, and it's the future, and they're the future, and I'll tell you, I think we're impressed. What do you think the younger people that can get so much out of this? And this, so if you ever go to the library and you need help, you go to the kids that are in your kids section, and they'll show you how to use your iPad, and they'll work you right through it, and they'll show how to get around the little screen lock tests, and thank goodness they did the access, the
guided access.
Guided access. That came up in one of the more recent iOSs, which you guys all might want to learn guided access for when the grandkids come over, because you can limit them to just a certain portion of the screen. They can't get the home button. They can't do anything else. They can't use your credit card and buy a bunch of different things. You can do guided access. It's in every single iOS device, so the kids can only touch that. So, Zule, you had a question? The books together are one? Oh, you know what? Don't buy any more tickets because I heard that Bob Gwine said that he was the winner already. But no, you guys, look, we got some great raffle prizes this time. And again, go ahead and let's take a break. I'm going to play a little video during the break that was the internet in 1981, and I'll replay it right when we come back too. It was pretty funny. So thank you very much. Let's give them another hand. That was a great presentation. Thank you. No, and I don't want to do it. I want to stop the recording for this because, if the recording's still on, there it is.